Welcome to Nightmare Narratives, where the line between the known and the unknown fades away. Tonight, we're bringing you three spine-chilling horror stories that are sure to make you question every shadow and sound in the night. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you never miss a tale of terror. If you enjoy these dark and unsettling stories, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments below. Now, turn off the lights, settle in, and prepare to face the nightmares that await. I found an old tape in my grandfather's attic. I wish I hadn't. Hey Reddit, I never thought I'd be one of those people posting some long-winded story here, but I don't know where else to turn. If I don't get this out, it's going to eat me alive. I'll warn you, this isn't going to have a satisfying ending. This isn't a ghost story with a clever twist or a creepypasta with a killer punchline. It's real, and I'm still living it. It started about a month ago. My grandfather passed away earlier this year, and my family decided it was finally time to clean out his house. He was a bit of a hoarder, not in the gross, dead cats in the walls way, but in the I might need this random piece of string kind of way. The attic was the worst. Boxes upon boxes of old VHS tapes, Polaroids, and random knickknacks he must have picked up at flea markets. I'm the youngest in the family, so naturally I got the worst job, organizing and sorting through the attic. Most of it was mundane. There were tapes labeled with old TV shows he'd recorded, stacks of newspapers from decades ago, and weird gadgets I couldn't even begin to identify. But then I found it. The tape wasn't labeled. It was shoved in the back corner of a box filled with Christmas decorations. It looked old, like really old. The casing was cracked, and the tape inside looked slightly warped. Against my better judgment, I took it home. I've always had this morbid curiosity about old, unlabeled tapes. There's something about the unknown that intrigues me. What could it be? A home movie? A forgotten piece of history? Or just static? I guess I was hoping for the first one. When I popped it into my old VCR, I immediately regretted it. The video was grainy, almost unwatchable. At first, it was just static, and I thought the tape was too degraded to play. But then, something flickered on the screen. It was a room, dimly lit with a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. The walls were bare, except for what looked like deep scratches running across them. In the center of the room was a chair. There was a man tied to it. He was slumped over, his head hanging low. At first, I thought he was dead. But then his head jerked up. His face, oh God, his face. It was like he'd been through hell. His lips were cracked, his skin pale and gaunt. There were deep cuts across his cheeks, and his eyes, they looked like they'd seen things no human should ever have to see. The camera stayed on him for what felt like an eternity. He didn't say anything. He just stared, not at the camera, but past it, like he was looking at me. Then, the screen cut to black. I should have stopped there. I should have taken the tape and burned it, buried the ashes, and never thought about it again. But I didn't. Something compelled me to keep watching. When the video came back, the man was gone. The chair was still there, but now the room was darker, and the scratches on the walls seemed deeper. The camera panned slowly across the room, lingering on the shadows in the corners. I don't know how to explain it, but I felt like something was there, something just out of view. Then the whispering started. It was faint at first, like a breeze rustling through leaves, but it grew louder, more insistent. It wasn't in English. Hell, I don't think it was in any language I've ever heard. It was guttural, almost animalistic. And it wasn't coming from the TV. It was coming from behind me. I spun around, heart pounding, but there was nothing there. Just my empty living room, dimly lit by the glow of the TV. When I turned back to the screen, the video was gone. It was just static again. I wish I could say that was the end of it, that I threw the tape away and moved on with my life. But things have only gotten worse since then. Every night, I hear the whispers. Sometimes they're faint, just barely audible over the hum of my fridge. Other times, they're loud enough to wake me up, like they're right next to my bed. Objects in my house have started moving, not in the dramatic Hollywood way, no chairs flying across the room or cabinets slamming shut, but little things. My keys not being where I left them, pictures on the wall slightly askew, doors that I know I closed being open in the morning. I've tried everything to get rid of the tape. I've burned it, buried it, even tossed it into the river, but it keeps coming back. I'll find it sitting on my coffee table or tucked into my bookshelf like it never left. Last night was the worst. I woke up to the sound of the whispers again, louder than ever. When I opened my eyes, I saw him, the man from the tape. He was standing at the foot of my bed, staring at me with those hollow eyes. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I thought I was going to die. And then he spoke, just one word, run. When I blinked, he was gone. But the word, it's been echoing in my head ever since. Run. Run from what? From him? From the tape? Or from something worse? I don't know what to do, Reddit. I've tried telling my family, but they think I'm just stressed out from everything that's happened with my grandfather. I've tried reaching out to priests, paranormal experts, even therapists, but no one takes me seriously. So here I am, pouring my soul out to strangers on the internet, hoping someone has an answer, or at least a way to make it stop. Because I don't think I can take this much longer. If you've made it this far, thank you. And if you have any advice, any at all, please share it. I'm desperate. And if you ever find an unlabeled tape in your attic, do yourself a favor. Leave it there. My friend vanished in the woods, but he left me a warning. Hey Reddit, I don't know if this belongs here, but I'm running out of options and I need to get this off my chest. If you've ever had something you can't explain happen to you, maybe you'll understand. Or maybe you'll think I'm crazy. Honestly, I'm not even sure what I think anymore. This started 6 months ago. My best friend, Aaron, and I decided to go on a camping trip. We'd been talking about getting out of the city for years, and Aaron had finally found the perfect spot, a secluded forest in the middle of nowhere. He'd read about it on some hiking forum. It's untouched, he said. No tourists, no trails, just pure wilderness. It sounded perfect. The first day was incredible. We set up camp by a crystal-clear lake, cooked over an open fire, and talked late into the night under the stars. It felt like we'd found a hidden piece of paradise. But on the second day, everything changed. We'd planned to explore deeper into the forest. Aaron had a map he'd printed out from the forum, but it was vague at best. The trees were dense, the terrain uneven, and it quickly became clear that we were off any kind of recognizable path. Aaron, being Aaron, thought this was great. "This is real adventure," he said, grinning as he hacked through the undergrowth with a machete. By late afternoon, we stumbled upon something strange. It was a clearing, but it didn't feel natural. The trees surrounding it were dead, their twisted branches reaching out like claws. In the center of the clearing was a stone pillar, about 6 feet tall, covered in strange carvings. They didn't look like any language I'd ever seen, just jagged symbols and spirals that seemed to shift if you looked at them too long. Aaron was fascinated. "This is incredible," he said, pulling out his phone to take pictures. But when he tried to turn it on, it wouldn't work. "Weird," he muttered. "It was fully charged this morning." My phone wouldn't turn on either. I wanted to leave. Something about that place felt wrong, like we were trespassing somewhere we shouldn't be. But Aaron insisted on staying a bit longer. He'd brought a notebook and started sketching the carvings, while I stood at the edge of the clearing, feeling like we were being watched. That's when I heard it, a low, guttural whisper, just barely audible. At first, I thought it was the wind, but it had a rhythm to it, almost like words. I turned to Aaron. "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" he asked, not looking up from his sketch. "That whispering," he shrugged. "Probably just the wind. You're too jumpy, man." But it didn't feel like the wind. It felt like something, or someone, was whispering directly into my ear. By the time Aaron was finished, the sun was starting to set. We made our way back to camp, but the forest felt different now. The shadows were deeper, and the sounds of birds and insects had gone eerily silent. We didn't talk much, and when we got back to the campsite, Aaron was unusually quiet. He kept glancing over his shoulder, like he was expecting to see something. That night, I woke up to the sound of footsteps outside the tent. At first, I thought it was an animal, but these weren't random rustling noises. They were deliberate, slow, and heavy, circling the tent. My heart was pounding as I reached over to wake Aaron, but his sleeping bag was empty. I grabbed my flashlight and unzipped the tent, calling his name. The beam of light cut through the darkness, but there was no sign of him. The footsteps had stopped, and the forest was deathly silent. Then I saw it. Just beyond the edge of the light, something moved. It was tall, much taller than any person, and its limbs were impossibly thin. It didn't make a sound as it slipped between the trees, disappearing into the shadows. I spent the rest of the night huddled in the tent, clutching the flashlight like a lifeline. When morning came, Aaron still hadn't returned. I searched the area, calling his name until my voice was hoarse, but there was no trace of him. His backpack, his boots, even his notebook, all gone. I hiked back to the nearest town and reported him missing. The police organized a search party, but they didn't find anything either. Eventually, they chalked it up to an accident. He probably got lost and succumbed to the elements, one officer told me. But I knew that wasn't true. A week after I got home, I found the notebook on my kitchen table. I have no idea how it got there. I'd seen Aaron put it in his backpack before we left the clearing. The pages were filled with his sketches of the carvings, but near the end, the drawings became frantic, almost manic. The symbols overlapped, scrawled in heavy, jagged lines. On the last page, he'd written a single sentence: "It's watching me. Don't look." Since then, strange things have been happening. I'll catch glimpses of movement in my peripheral vision, but when I turn, there's nothing there. At night, I hear footsteps outside my window, even though I live on the second floor. And sometimes, I hear that whispering again, low and guttural, just barely audible. I haven't slept in days. I'm afraid that if I close my eyes, I'll wake up to find it standing over me. Or worse, I won't wake up at all. I don't know what to do, Reddit. I've thought about burning the notebook, but part of me is terrified that it'll make things worse. Aaron's warning keeps echoing in my head. Don't look. But how do you stop looking for something that's always watching you? My roommate isn't human. Hey Reddit, throwaway account here because I don't want this tied back to me. I'm not even sure why I'm posting this. Maybe I just need someone to confirm I'm not crazy. This all started a few weeks ago when I moved into my new apartment. It's nothing fancy, a tiny 2-bedroom place I'm sharing with a guy named Daniel. We met on one of those roommate apps, and everything seemed normal at first. He had good reviews from previous roommates, a steady job, and no red flags. I thought I hit the jackpot. The first couple of days were fine. Daniel mostly kept to himself. He worked late hours, so I didn't see him much except for the occasional nod or wave in passing. But then the strange stuff started happening. One night, I woke up to the sound of something scratching at my bedroom door. I figured it was just a mouse or maybe the wind, so I ignored it and went back to sleep. The next morning, I found deep scratches on the door, like something with claws had been trying to get in. When I asked Daniel about it, he just shrugged and said it must have been the building's pests. Things escalated quickly after that. I started hearing noises at night, low growls and whispers that seemed to come from Daniel's room. I tried convincing myself it was just him talking in his sleep or watching TV, but it didn't sound human. The walls in this place are thin, and I could hear every word. Except they weren't words. They were sounds, guttural and wet, like someone gargling gravel. One night, I came home late from work and found the apartment dark except for a faint, flickering light coming from under Daniel's door. I called out to him, but he didn't respond. Curiosity got the better of me, so I knocked. "Daniel? You okay in there?" No answer, just the sound of something heavy dragging across the floor. I backed away and went to my room, locking the door behind me. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, Daniel was in the kitchen making coffee like nothing had happened. I tried to act normal, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He smiled at me, and for the first time, I noticed his teeth. They were sharp. Not vampire movie sharp, but just enough to make me uncomfortable. And his eyes, they seemed darker than before, like the color had drained out of them. I started keeping a journal, writing down every weird thing I noticed, like how Daniel never seemed to eat. I'd see him in the kitchen with food in front of him, but I never actually saw him take a bite. Or how his room smelled, a damp, earthy smell like rotting wood. The breaking point came last week. I woke up in the middle of the night to find my bedroom door open. I always lock it. Standing in the doorway was Daniel. He wasn't moving, just standing there, staring at me with those pitch black eyes. His mouth was slightly open, and I could hear that same wet, gravelly sound coming from his throat. I don't know how, but I managed to speak. Daniel, what are you doing? He tilted his head, almost like he was studying me. Then he whispered, "You're not ready yet." And then he was gone. Just gone. I didn't hear him leave, didn't see him move. One moment he was there, and the next he wasn't. I packed a bag that night and left. I'm staying with a friend now, but I'm still terrified. I've been checking the news, waiting for something to come out about Daniel or the apartment, but there's nothing. It's like he doesn't exist. I've even tried looking up his name, but I can't find anything about him. No social media, no records, nothing. The worst part? I've been having nightmares. In every one, Daniel is there, standing at the foot of my bed, whispering those same words, "You're not ready yet." I'm scared to go back to my apartment, but I don't know what to do. I don't have the money to break the lease, and my landlord isn't answering my calls. I feel trapped. Like Daniel is still watching me, waiting for something. Please Reddit, if anyone has any idea what's going on or what I should do, let me know. I just want my life back. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the unknown. If these stories sent shivers down your spine, don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who loves a good scare. Hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you never miss another nightmare from Nightmare Narratives. And tell us in the comments, which story will keep you awake tonight? Until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant, and remember, the scariest monsters are the ones you don't see.